Prude and Prejudice. Let's talk about it on this episode of Pushback.
Go, Jonny, go, go. Go, Jonny, go, go. Go, Jonny, go, go.
If you're concerned about the direction our culture is heading, then maybe it's time to push back.
Greetings, my dear listeners. This is Dr. Jonny, and this is another episode of Pushback. I was thinking of apologizing, but I'm not going to apologize. I missed my last week's podcast, as you may have noticed, but it was because my wife and I have been traveling and ministering quite a bit. I literally ran out of time to actually do my podcast and put in the time and research that it requires. So I missed it because I was out doing kingdom work, and so I won't apologize for that. But it is my pleasure to come back to you this week, and we got to roll the punches, and the show must go on. And so here I am this week, all fired up about further pushback topics. Thank you for tuning in again this week and connecting with me each and every week. My preliminary comment is this: I don't always want to be negative. Sometimes when you look at a pushback podcast, it's implied that there's something there that we see that we are uncomfortable with or unsatisfied with, and we are pushing back. That's what we're doing. That is the premise of the podcast. But I do also want to highlight, obviously, the glorious nature of his kingdom and the good that's being done here on this earth. However, with all that being said, this week I feel somewhat irritated, and I'm coming into this podcast just a little bit fired up and maybe my feathers are just a little bit ruffled. And so I'm coming from that perspective, so I apologize for that. However, I think this is so important that as we as parents fully understand what we are for and what our role is here on this earth. So let's get into it. This is titled Prude and Prejudice. I'm very proud of that title, by the way. Pride and Prejudice is my daughter's especially favorite movie of all time. But I'm talking about Prude and Prejudice today. Prejudice means to have a bias. It means to have, obviously we think of prejudice in the negative form of the fact that we prejudge somebody based on religion, skin color, different political views. There's a prejudice that we have based on those outward things. But to have a prejudice, a bias, means to have an attitude of mind that predisposes one to favor something. Okay, so let's type in the word prejudice in regards to parenting. See, I believe I have a prejudice. I have prejudged the fact that I favor my children over all other children. And hopefully you feel the same way about your kids. That's why I have pictures of my children on my wall, and I don't have pictures of your children on my wall. That's fair to say, isn't it? It doesn't mean that I don't like your children. It doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that I have a prejudice. I have a bias towards these people that I call my children, the ones that are in my inner circle. And when we talk about the word prude, I'm becoming more comfortable with the word prude. In fact, many other podcasts I've said, I'm not trying to be prudish or I'm not trying to be a prude, but the definition of a prude is a person who is excessively attentive to propriety or decorum. Well, propriety is another big word that I had to look up. Propriety means to conform to an accepted standard of behavior or morals. Well, if that's the case, then maybe I'm a prude. We use the word pretty negatively, but my friends, we are to the point in our culture that if we don't stand up as parents, who's going to do it? There is a wave of, at best, complacency, at worst, demonic, intentional devastation to our children that is rolling our way. And we need to be the ones who push back. That is the point of this podcast. See, I've had a series of events over the past week. When you do a podcast about culture, it's very important that I have my eyes open to the things that are around me. So let me just share a few of those experiences that I've had over the last week. This is just over the last week, maybe even over the last 5 days or so. I'm a Law and Order guy. I like to watch Law and Order. I'll DVR it and watch episodes, old and new. And I was watching one of the newer episodes of Law and Order, and one of the detectives comes out of his apartment with his daughter. And his daughter is dressed a little bit skimpy. And he says to her, "It looks like you're dressed more for Miami than you are for New York." At which point she says, "Oh, Dad," she said, "this is the way girls dress today." And at which point he rolls his eyes, gets in the car, and drives her to school. And of course, this is fiction. The rest of my stories are not fiction, but it was an illustration of a frustration that has been bubbling in me over the course of time. Here is a parent who actually has dominion. Now, we can use the word control, rule, authority. I think all those words are good. I believe the best word is the word dominion, and I'm going to define all of these things for you in this podcast. He has dominion. He's the parent. He is seeing something that he is uncomfortable with, enough to make a comment about it, at which point she simply dismisses it, he simply dismisses it, and they move on with life. My friends, that is the tidal wave that we are seeing. So if we have provocatively dressed daughters, there is one reason and one reason only that they are doing that. They are doing it to attract the lust of the opposite sex. Now you're going to say, "Dr. Jonny, that's a very prudish thing to say." But it's true. What is the other motivation? What other motivation is there for a young girl to show her body off in the most unclothed way? It's for the eyeballs of the male students in her school to see her and to lust after her. So with that being said, there are going to be some things I'm talking about in this podcast. I'm just warning parents, a little parental discretion may be advised in this podcast, because I'm going to talk about the things that I've seen this week. This is just one example, but I'm going to tell it like it is. And we have to be able to hear this and know what's happening in the culture. Obviously, we know it, but until somebody rings a bell or somebody puts it in your face, sometimes we just dismiss it and go on with life. Like this dad did in Law and Order, rolls his eyes, gets behind the wheel, and drives her to school. We have to stop operating from a parental standpoint. We are just going with the flow, and we're going to do what is considered the new normal. I talk so often about common versus normal, because something becomes more common doesn't make it normal. And for a dad to allow her young child to be lusted after is not normal. I need to say this as clear as I can. That is not a normal fatherly response, is to roll your eyes and take her to school anyway. If there's something going on, grab her by the ear, bring her back into the apartment, and have her change her clothes. That's what parents are for. That's what parents do. Can you tell just I'm a little bit fired up about this? So let me give you some real life examples. So my son is a baseball player, doing very well this season. And we travel around, of course, as most parents do, watching their son play baseball. So we traveled about an hour, hour and a half to this game. I won't mention the town, a small rural town where we were playing them in baseball. And of course, I'm sitting in the seats. And in between innings, they are playing music. They do that at basketball games. They do that at volleyball games. They're playing music. And it is mostly country music, so you can probably tell where this is headed. But not all country music is, they don't have the corner on provocative music. It's everywhere. But they are playing deep country music with lyrics that are astounding to me. This is a high school, underage child activity, and they are playing music that has lyrics such as this. Parental discretion is advised. It's country music, so we know that it's going to be about tight clothing, alcohol, sex, and pickup trucks, which most songs have some reference to those four things. And so we're sitting here listening to this music with all of the other parents watching underage children and listening to music. And it's all about getting drunk. It's all about a song that says, we're going to let the liquor do the talking. And we've said plenty. I scratched some of these down. It says that they are sitting their ass on the beach and doing what they HELL want to. They're talking about making love on the beach. They're talking about making decisions and then drinking to that. They're talking about happiness being found in a beer together. This is the over and over, guys, these are just some examples of what I'm talking about, of what we listen to in between innings with 16 to 18-year-olds, their younger siblings, and their parents. Somebody at this little town picked out these songs, either paid no attention to the lyrics, just picked the top 10 that we're playing right now. I have no idea what their motive was, but it's very possible that their motive is that this is now the new normal. This is what kids listen to, so this is what we're going to listen to. And here's what blows my mind, is there are, I'm not exaggerating, 500 million other choices of songs that they could pick in their playlist to play in between innings. Songs about baseball, songs about the summer, songs about hype, songs about athletics, songs that just make you feel good, songs that are just even party songs that are innocent. These are all songs that would be 1,000 times better than encouraging our kids in premarital sex, alcoholism, and riotous living. I'm sounding like a prude. And I'm not going to apologize for it anymore, because I'm the dad. And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want my daughter who's sitting next to me thinking that this is normal culture. I don't want my son who's playing baseball thinking this is normal culture. I don't want anybody in that stadium thinking that this is normal culture. And so unless we stand up and say something, what are we going to do? This is a parental role. We are the ones that are allowing it to happen. I was on TV. Oh, by the way, so I'm sitting there at this baseball game and there are parents sitting behind me. And of course, when you listen to them, I'm not sure that they had kids next to them, probably at times. The language that they were speaking with completely parroted, echoed what we were hearing on the radio. So it's quite possible there was no sinister motive in picking out these songs. It's quite possible that this just is their culture. But it's unacceptable. It's harmful, and it's damaging to our children. Let's just be honest and straightforward about this. Let me give you another example. I'm watching TV and I'm seeing kind of a Trump rally. He's talking about it in front of people, and as he's walking by, there's a crowd of people, and every single person in that crowd was watching him through their screen of their phone. Now, I get it that they're recording, taking pictures, historical moment, seeing the president. I get that and I respect that. My wife would even say she goes to the baseball game and she takes pictures and videos because we want to capture and remember what we're seeing. So I'm not saying that it's inherently evil. On the other hand, we can't live life looking through a screen. I don't want that for my children. And we see it all the time. We see it even when we're watching movies. I'll look over at my couch and our kids are looking on their phones. When we're at restaurants, we'll see families not talking to each other, but just looking at their phones. We can't live life, and I don't want my children living life looking through a screen, at a screen, through a screen, interacting with the screen. That's not real life, and that is not normal. Common, but not normal. There was a movie that we really love called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and there was a character in there played by Sean Penn, who's a photographer, and he's up in the mountains, and he's trying to capture a snow leopard, one of the most mysterious, hard to capture pictures, and he's there, and he finally gets it. The cat comes out, and he gets it into view of his lens, puts it into focus, and then doesn't take the picture. And Walter Mitty is sitting next to him and says, "Why didn't you take the shot?" And he said, "Sometimes I don't want the distraction of the camera." And he says, "I just want to stay in it." And that's my heart for kids. My friends, there is a Surgeon General warning about our kids on phones. It is damaging to them. I can spend, if you want me to, I'll spend another whole podcast telling you the data and the statistics behind that. But our phones are not good, they are not healthy, and they are not beneficial for our children. Do they have some benefits? Yes, we can find that. You're probably watching me on some kind of social media or phone or a device right now. And so we can get the word out for the kingdom, and we should use that to our benefit, absolutely. But let's be clear, our children spending a bunch of time on the phone and living life looking through a screen is not healthy for them. And we as our parents, because we are biased, because we are prejudiced towards them, we need to be the ones that protect them. We're it. We're it. So Prude and Prejudice. I think I'm both. Because I favor my children. I favor them. I desire the best for them. And I hope that's true for you too. I don't want them to have premarital sex. I don't want them to drink. And I don't want to have them have the liquor do the talking. I don't want them to be the sex object of lustful people. I don't want them to see life through a screen. And I don't want them to talk like a sailor. That's not the best that I have for my children. I hope you don't think that's the best for you. Now, there might be some people in this world that just simply don't care about that list that I just said. Or they said, that's what I did when I grew up and I turned out fine. But we have to understand that as family goes, so goes the culture. And the culture is on a precipice. And I believe that we can actually pull it back from that precipice because of the love for our children. That's our motive. We need to be a little bit more prudish, and we need to operate in our prejudice towards our children. That's what I believe. So do I believe all these things for my children because I'm a prude? Maybe. That's true. Prejudice? Absolutely. I consider them favorable above everybody else because they're my kids. And so what are we called to do? Well, there are 4 words in the book of Genesis that we were called to do. The first is the word radah, which means dominion. It says in Genesis 1:28 that we are to have dominion over the earth. It means to enable things to develop and open up as they should. What a definition. So powerful. It enables kids to develop and open up as they should. My friends, our kids today are suffering from depression and anxiety. They are not opening up as they should because parents aren't stewarding the role of dominion on the earth. It's our place. It's our place to operate in dominion. It doesn't mean we put them under our thumb. It doesn't mean that we lock them into the basement. It doesn't mean that we always say no to everything that they ask. But it does mean that we put protectional boundaries around them because we love them. And it's because it's healthy for them. And it's good for them. The list I just gave that I don't want my children operating, it's not because I want them to perform for me or look a certain way to the world. It's because if they do those things, they will hurt themselves. It'll be damaging to them. And why would I want that for my children? It tells us that we're supposed to fill the earth and subdue it. The word subdue is the word kabosh. To put a kibosh on something. It means to put the enemy under your feet. It means footstool. It means under your feet. And we as parents are the ones that confront the enemy on our children's behalf, and all of the CRAP that they're being exposed to, we put it under our feet. We acknowledge it. We see it. I told my children today that the music that was playing in between the innings is not a cultural reality that they should be living in. And it's devastating to the ones who live it. And the enemy has a plan. And it's to take us down, take our kids down, take the culture down. It says that we are to tend and we are to keep. The word tend is the word abad. And it means to serve or till or dress. It means to help develop, to teach. It's something that's for our children's good and development. That's our role. It's not the school's role. It's not the person who picks out the music in between the innings role. It's not the coach's role. It's not the youth group leader's role. It's the parent's role to tend their children, to till them, to dress them, to serve them, to make sure that the soil is right. And we are to tend and keep. The word keep is shamar. It's the careful keeping that watches over the object with careful observation and attention. My friends, the world today is ridiculing and making fun of what we call helicopter parenting. Like that we actually hover over our children. My friends, that's not what the Bible says that we are supposed to operate in. We are supposed to be the ones that hover over them, watches over them, with careful observation and attention. It's to keep our instruction, to tend and to keep. We want our children not only to obey us, but to keep the things that we say. The Bible doesn't say that we're supposed to obey the commandments. It says we're supposed to keep the commandments. It's a heart attitude where we're connected to the ones who have dominion over us. And we watch over them. We have careful attention. The Law and Order detective that just blew off her daughter's issue isn't operating in shamar. He's not keeping close and careful attention over her. Well, he was for a second. He mentioned it, but then he didn't tend it. We are to operate in dominion. We are to subdue. We are to tend and to keep. Hey, guess what? That's our role. Nobody else gets to do it, parents. We are to operate as a prude and prejudice towards our children. I really believe that. I believe we should be excessively attentive to propriety and decorum. I think it means that we should have an attitude of mind that predisposes us to favor our children. Prude and prejudice. I believe that's our role. We have to up our game, because the world today is upping their game. They're after something, and they're after the hearts of our kids. I know that sounds sinister, that sounds dark, but we don't need to be afraid or live in fear. We just need to simply be what we were called to be. We're fully equipped. We have everything we need to be the parent that has dominion, that subdues, that tends and keeps, because we were created that way. We're hardwired to do that for our children. We just can't let the steamroll, the wave of this world wash over us. We need to push back and we need to stand strong. I really care about this, can you tell? I'm sorry if I was shouting at you today, but it's because of the passion I have for the role and what we were created to do. That's what this podcast is all about. Hey, my friends, would you go to gofam.org? We have a new revamped website that is up and running. It's better than it's ever been. Interactive. We have more resources on there. Would you please connect with us at gofam.org? And would you also go to pushbackculture.org, where you can leave comments and questions and future topics that you would wish me to talk about? I would love to connect with you there. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week. God bless you all. Love you. Now let's go together to set and shape the culture.